And good afternoon. It's another episode of the Gary and Mark Show. I'm Gary.
And I'm Mark.
And we're coming to you not live.
But we are alive.
We are, and we're glad to be alive.
And where are we alive at today, Gary?
We are alive at Oskar Blues Brewery, technically in the town of Pisgah Forest, outside of Brevard, North Carolina. And we are outside at a picnic table with a pear tree nearby, and the sun is shining.
That's right. We are not on a deck.
We're not on a deck.
And we have a reason to be outside today.
We do.
And we should point out, because we hadn't thought about this is episode 18 or 19, and every one of them has been at a tap room or a brewery.
Yes.
But we don't want people to think that's all we do.
No.
We're a serious program.
We are.
And so we have a guest today with us.
Yes, we do.
We don't always have a guest.
No, we don't.
So we want to say today, welcome to Perry Jones. And people probably, there are a lot of people here.
There are dogs,
clapping.
people,
can y'all hold it down?
Children,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, you want to explain why she's here?
Perry Jones is here to talk about a wonderful program that's in the some of the schools. This program is called Muddy Sneakers, and it gets kids outside and teaches, I think, to the basic standard core of science, but kids learning outside instead of cooped up in a classroom.
That's right.
And so, Perry, what's your role with Muddy Sneakers?
Well, it's good to be here. Muddy Sneakers.
Most people don't say that.
It's very good to be here, especially on the fresh air on this beautiful autumn day.
Yep.
It's gorgeous.
I wish your listeners could see what I see, which is all kinds of fall colors all around us.
And, we have listeners from all over the country and world, we think. We know because of our little stats. But, explain where we are even in the state. We didn't say what state we're from, so he said Pisgah Forest. But,
so we are in western North Carolina, close to Brevard, as Mark mentioned, and we are, or Gary mentioned, excuse me.
We look the same.
Yeah.
So Muddy Sneakers has two field offices. We have one here in Brevard that serves all of western North Carolina. We are in 11 counties in western North Carolina. And then we have a field office in Salisbury, which is in central North Carolina, outside of Charlotte, and that serves an additional 6 counties in the Piedmont. And we are continuing to grow. So we just add to that number. So right now we are in 18 counties.
Wow.
In North Carolina, and growing and counting. We are still talking to some schools for this school year in the Piedmont, and maybe another school here in western North Carolina that might have a delayed or mid-year start. So right now we're talking in October, but hopefully by January we'll have a couple other counties to add onto that list.
And can a school start the program in January, or do you have to wait till the next year?
Usually wait until the next year. Sometimes we have exceptions for one reason or another, but yeah, it's incredible to be part of an organization that's growing so quickly.
And so Gary is very familiar with Muddy Sneakers because he was actually on the board.
I was on the board for a few years back in I can't remember, is 06 or maybe 05, something, for about 10 years, I think. But when I came on board, there was one school. The pilot school, I think, was Brevard Elementary, and that David Williams was the principal. David Williams' mother and father started Camp High Rocks. So David got the idea getting kids outside to learn. He knew that, and so I think that was the pilot program. They did both, I think, 5th grade, and he tried 7th grade too, but it sounds like 5th grade is the great target to get them when they're young and receptive.
Oh, yeah. We've found, so Muddy Sneakers did try with 8th grade for about 2 years, and actually just the other day I spoke to a woman in a cafe here in Brevard, and she said, I was wearing my Muddy Sneakers sweater, and she said, oh, I was cheated out of my Muddy Sneakers experience. And it was so sad to hear that because she had been so excited. But by the time she got to 8th grade, the program had learned a lesson that the program looks very different in middle school, as do children look very different in middle school and act and behave differently than they do in elementary school. So we Muddy Sneakers programs exclusively with 5th graders, and we partner with public elementary schools. So we do have some charter schools that partner with us, but those are also public. So we're in both traditional and charter public schools. And now I can say, truly all across North Carolina. But we think of 5th grade as this golden time of age, this golden age in education, a time when they have that childlike wonder, and they're not quite at that stage where they're looking at each other of what's cool and what's
tell me about
embarrassing, or
I think 5th grade was my high point. Yeah.
Well, and that's the grade I taught for most of my years, and also taught 8th grade. And I can tell you, you were absolutely right. So if any of my former students are listening, hey, you 8th graders were good, but the 5th graders were always great. So it's a smart move, I think.
But they still have that, but they're also old enough to pay attention outside and to be safe and to learn how to conduct an experiment outside and how to listen to directions in a way that's conducive to outdoor learning.
Yeah.
So Muddy Sneakers, I can tell you a little bit about my program. I just realized I never answered your question. My role with Muddy Sneakers
so long ago, I forgot what my question was. Oh, your role, yeah, that's right.
Is development. So I work to bring resources for Muddy Sneakers so that we can continue to offer our program to public schools, and so that we can continue to grow to reach new communities. So we have grown, like I said, enormous amounts in the past several years, opening up a second field office and accessing a whole new population of students that otherwise don't have the opportunity during the school day, especially to get outside. But here in Western North Carolina, we've just taken off, and we have so much interest from people who want from teachers and principals, and also superintendents and community members, just interested folks who say, I want the children in my local area to appreciate where they live. We're talking about what I'm looking at here, and it's an incredibly, it's breathtaking in terms of the natural resources that we have here. We've got Pisgah National Forest on the horizon, some incredibly we've got a great array here in Western North Carolina of protected green spaces, and you have children who are from all across the world and the country who flock to Western North Carolina, especially for camp. And then, but the kids who grow up here may have Pisgah National Forest or gorges or DuPont or any of the other lands that we program in their backyard, and they never get out to them. They don't even know they're there.
That was David Williams' contention back when it began, that there were kids in the Brevard grade school there that had never been to Pisgah Forest. And I remember the first executive director, Laura Negrella, talking about taking a group of, they're leading a learning expedition out in DuPont. And I think they were going up that kind of exfoliated granite rock. Is it Big Rock Trail? Whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
And so, it's like a little mini looking glass in a way, a little lower angle, but so you got all this granite and then trees in this. One kid just looking at this and go, who made this? And they just had no
frame of reference.
Exactly.
They have no familiarity. It really is, for many of our students, the first time they've been on a hike.
That's amazing.
And they're 10, they're 9, 10, 11 years old in 5th grade. And I actually just spent the day out in the field yesterday. We had some community supporters who wanted to see us in action. So I welcome any listeners who want to come out and see our program. Please give us a call, because when you see it happen, you realize that these children almost belong outside. They're natural scientists, they're natural explorers, and when they are outside, they are incredibly adaptive as well. That even though they're maybe uncomfortable or unfamiliar the first expedition or two, almost immediately you see those eyes get wide, and they're asking all kinds of questions. And we have a team of field instructors that are highly trained, and they're all educators. They have experiential education backgrounds, and some of them are naturalists, and some of them are former school teachers. But we offer continual education for them and trainings. But they blow me away in how well they can manage a group of fifth graders outside, and then encourage them to trust their own sense of inquiry. So yesterday, one of our instructors, Molly, just always affirming in them that you're scientists. And you see a point of pride in their faces. It's really incredible to see young female and male students who maybe not so confident in their ability to, or their academic, efficacy, or their science academic abilities. Right. And then they come out and they realize, oh, this is what that meant in that book, or this is what that thing in a two-dimensional space may be hard to understand, but when I see it outside, I'm actually witnessing these natural processes. So yesterday the topic, so as Gary said, every day is aligned with a topic from the curriculum, and yesterday the topic was energy. So they're talking about radiation, insulation, convection, conduction. And it's a refresher for me too, to be honest. Which
when I went on one, and it was Lauren Agrella's father, who'd been a career weather forecaster. When we're out on one, and I think we were, what's the land of talking trees in
the state forest?
State Forest. We're home state forest, and it's like, okay, what's Newton's second law of whatever? And I'm like over there, don't call on me, don't call on me, don't call on me. But
right.
I can back up what Perry's saying about the excitement, because I've at the Lake Lure School, I took pictures for them for Facebook and whatever, and I would go on their first real day out in the woods. So not when the teacher first came to the classroom, the muddy sneakers person, but their first real day out. And it was like Christmas every time. They were so excited to get out.
Oh, you feel it when the school bus pulls up. So for your listeners to imagine, at the trailhead, you usually have like a gravel parking lot, and we have certain requirements for some of our sites. You need to be able to pull a school bus in. But they pull in the school bus, the doors open, these children are, they're wearing their backpacks and hopefully are geared up for a colder morning or something, but they stream out, and we gather them for an opening circle. So whether it's a small school of 40 or a big school of 100, whatever it is, you feel it buzzing in the air. We say, it's not a field trip. This is an expedition. This is a learning expedition.
I love that name, learning expedition.
And every Muddy Sneakers Day, starts out with our 3 priorities, which is safety, learning, and having fun. And you can't have one without the other. You have to be safe in order to learn, and and that allows us to have fun.
Well, one of those learning experiences that I heard the first day I went and took pictures, and I wish I had taken the guy's advice. I don't remember his name, but he was telling the kids, if you have to go to the bathroom in the woods, here's how you do it. And he sat down and went through this whole procedure. And he got to this point about if you had to do number 2. Can I say that on the air, Gary?
Oh, yeah, I think you did.
I did. Okay. Something about he takes his pants off one side, slides them over the other side. Well, I should have listened to that lesson, because I was on Roan Mountain not too long ago. And I won't get into any details, but I would have been better off had I paid attention and followed that guy's instructions.
You could maybe look at Andrew Skirka's YouTube video.
What is that about?
Well, he's a long-distance hiker. And
okay.
He goes into detail.
Some good resource sharing.
Yeah,
I need to. And speaking of that,
it's important.
Right now, before we forget it, because we often get to the end, we get flabbergasted or something. What is the Muddy Sneakers website so people can find that?
Thank you. Our Muddy Sneakers website is www.muddysneakers.org.
That's pretty easy.
Yeah, .org.
.org.
Yeah.
Yes.
So check that out. We'll put that on the website and in the show notes. We'll say that again at the end, but before we forget it, we often do. So the school signs up, and they do have to pay. So they're raising money. Some people raise money and donate, so the schools have assistance or whatever. But so how does the procedure work? I mean, they go so many. I mean, you find places for them to go?
We do. So Muddy Sneakers, that's a great sort of set of questions there. So we've got our funding model for our program. 25% of our cost is provided by the school. So we privately fundraise 75% of
Wow.
the cost of programming, and we do that for two reasons. The first is to keep the cost of programming affordable for schools. And then some people ask, well, then why not just have it free for schools? And we have had certain schools that for one reason or another haven't had to pay. Either they have a private donor pay their side or whatnot. And we encourage schools to be creative in how they fundraise for Muddy Sneakers for our program. But having that effort really means that they have more skin in the game, that they are committed in a different way to seeing the program succeed in the school, we've seen it's been 12 years that Muddy Sneakers has been programming in the state, and you have a higher likelihood of feedback and sort of course adjustments along the way to ensure that the students and the teachers and the school in general is having the best possible experience. So that's the two reasons we have sort of that 25-75 model. And that's my work is to help raise that 75%. So for every school we take on, we have to, we rely on the private support of the community to make sure we can keep providing that program to their local school. And to answer your other question, our model is really a very different model compared to other environmental education programs or experiential ed, especially in the outdoor science world. A lot of, or many nonprofits or organizations are campus-based, so site-based. So schools will go to a specific place and have a day of learning. And that's common, especially here in Western North Carolina and other parts of the state, that exists as well. One of the founding purposes of Muddy Sneakers, and those programs are all very beneficial, of course, like we support that work. But one of the founding principles of Muddy Sneakers is, again, to introduce the children growing up in these places to the richness of the natural world around them.
Their own backyard.
Yeah.
So
the Muddy Sneakers mission is to awaken in children a deeply felt connection with the natural world, one that inspires curiosity, stimulates learning, and brings new life to classroom performance. So we focus really intentionally on that science learning and also help to bring new life to the classroom. So we want teachers to feel the benefits of it too, so that in the class after an expedition, they can refer back to the experiments, to the vocabulary. Each student has a Muddy Sneakers journal that we provide them that has pages for them to record their experiments and different resources in there that align to each of our topics. So we're providing resources for success in the classroom, but also really wanting these local children to grow up with a sense of place. And these days, and I don't know how long it's been the case, but my sense is that many people can grow up sort of living the same existence no matter where you are. You wake up, you drive to school or work, you maybe drive to the same box stores, you might eat at the same places, all these sort of the chain franchising kind of environment that we live in. It can be very indoor, very stimulating with our technology, and getting outside can be very countercultural, but it also introduces people to what makes my space and my place unique. And here in Western North Carolina, one of the reasons, again, that Muddy Sneakers was founded was because there was the fear that a whole generation would grow up not appreciating or knowing what was around them. And so the founders, some of the people that we were talking about before recording, they read a book by Richard Louv called Last Child in the Woods.
That's what really seemed to get this thing going.
Not just addressing the symptoms, but addressing the causes. And one of the root causes, I think, of this sort of lost generation from the outdoors, which includes, my generation, my parents' generation too. Many have been sort of skipped over in being introduced to the outdoors, but more so today, I think, than ever before. Is to address the cause of, in order to care about a place, you need to experience it. Mm-hmm. And so what better way to introduce as many children as possible than working with the public schools? And so each school we work with is a microcosm of the community, and we see indirect benefits all over the place. We partner with NC State to study the impacts of our program. But we also hear all this fabulous anecdotal evidence too of our indirect benefits. Kids going home and saying, "Mom, Dad, I just went to this place. Did you know that gorgeous state park was around the corner from our house?" Or kids growing up in Rosman just over here, or out in Franklin, Western North Carolina, or outside Salisbury, or in Cumberland County. They say they didn't even know that there was a nature reserve or nature preserve over here. And then they say, "I have to take you there and show you this cool thing I saw." And they end up taking their big or little sister out, and they end up taking their mom or dad or grandparent, and hopefully Muddy Sneakers can be a part, not the only thing, but a part of an effort to get more people outside.
I love that video on your website of this kid, I think it was at Brevard, whatever, but anyhow, he runs home and the mom says, "You want to play video games," whatever. Says no. He goes in the closet and finds his hand lens and whatever, and takes his little brother out, and they start looking at things.
Yeah.
Because he learned that at Muddy Sneakers.
And juxtaposed from the beginning of the video when it's, do you want to play before? And it was video games.
Mm-hmm. And that is so true.
Yeah.
I still run a little summer travel program, winding it down, but we started about 6 years ago not allowing them to bring their phones and stuff, and it's made a big difference. Because some of them cannot entertain themselves without something electronic in front of them.
Yeah, and we're out on the trails, and we see people mountain biking with their kayaks, and some of these students have never considered outdoor recreation, so you never know what some of the indirect benefits are of just witnessing it.
So when you go to a school, back to that earlier question,
yes.
And you go like 5 times or so?
Minimum of 6.
Minimum of 6.
So that's another thing that sets us apart in some ways, is that we are not just a one-off, that we are committed to offering, different sites too. So they don't just see one place, they see multiple different places.
Yes.
Yep. So we try to bring them to as many different sites around their school, and always never more than about 30 miles from their school too. So it's local. They don't have a long commute to get there. We try to keep it as accessible as possible for schools. And then having at least six expeditions with us means that they A, hit as many topics as possible, B, as many sites, and they get a diversity of instructors as well. So we have our group of instructors, but it doesn't mean they have the same instructor every time.
Okay.
So you might have a young female student who sees a female instructor and thinks, oh, might be one of the first female scientists or someone in the outdoor world that student has seen, and you never know what that kind of example can provide for somebody.
And I think I read or seen things around. You also have a summer program now?
We do. Here in Western North Carolina, we have a camp called Camp Muddy Sneakers, and it's based out of Reeb Ranch, which is right outside DuPont State Recreational Forest. And
it's a day camp.
It's a day camp. And this year we've expanded the ages, so now we work with kids from ages 4 through 14.
Really?
And we have different groups. They're not all together. Mm-hmm. Very different needs.
Have
in those
you had 14-year-olds in it, or is that coming?
Yes, we have.
So how was their reaction?
Oh, it was fabulous. Oh, just absolutely fantastic. They, the older kids get to go on these adventures, and so they're not going to stay at Reeb Ranch. That's sort of our home base for that age group. The other kids sort of stick around that area or in DuPont.
You've been there, Gary?
Reeb Ranch, I've interesting history on Reeb Ranch. That, of course, originally was a dairy, and Reeb Ranch, well, you got that big 3-story barn. Mm-hmm. Okay, I spent 35 years working for a company called Diamond Brand.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Diamond Brand's the son of the founder, David Kemp, moved down here in 1942 to open a little sewing factory over near Fletcher. I'd say Naples, but people think I'm talking about Florida. Dave Kemp bought that farm because he was interested. He was sewing. I mean, they were doing stuff for the military, World War II, but he was interested in growing a dairy herd. So he owned that farm. He designed that 3-story barn that was built by German prisoners of war during World War II. And Dave's son, his surviving son, the one who didn't go into the business, Bernie Kemp, who is alive and quite sharp at age 91 told me that barn never did work the way it was supposed to. But Bernie lived out there in the late 40s, worked for his father. But I have, so my connection to it's interesting, Branch.
Now, I have seen that, now that you say that, yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful space, and it's got lots of nice sort of natural features there. So the campers, I'm so used to saying students.
Yeah.
The campers can, see we do some aquatic studies with them. They get to sort of play. Little kids get to run around in the fields, but we get to take them into the woods and sort of offer that Muddy Sneakers experience that fifth graders get during the school year to a wider age range, and our instructors can work during the summer and also offer more of like a naturalist experience for them too. So these kids are out there, learning about species and really getting some science knowledge, but we kind of trick them into it, right? Like they don't know they're learning. They're out there at camp and they're having fun and playing games and doing activities, but most of the games and the backgrounds that our instructors have are all for the purpose of pointing them toward science and learning. And one of the things one of our instructors says, children are natural scientists, always experimenting. I've got a 1-year-old and she's already a scientist. You always looking for my reaction or what's mom going to do. And I think that never leaves us. It just changes. So no matter how old you are, you're always experimenting and observing and learning, and hopefully that spark of inquiry, is lit in you at a young age, fostered through programs like Muddy Sneakers and other, engaging educational opportunities, and then fostered throughout your life. I think that's something I know I've had, from camp and some really excellent educators and family members who encourage that, and I think it's part of our goal is to light that spark if it hasn't been lit, or to keep it going, so that kids can enter into middle school with a confidence. So I said I was out in the field yesterday and I had an incredible experience. It's just a beautiful time of year. One of the things that we do is a silent hike, and so outside of our experiments and the activities that we do, we take them out into the woods, and something that we've heard from students and teachers alike is that this is a very different school day, because it is a school day. We call it our outdoor classroom, but it's an opportunity for the students to have some peace and quiet and to be outside. And so how can we build on that? So we offer them a chance for a silent hike. And so a student, our instructor goes first. We always have an adult chaperone at the end, make sure they're all sort of contained. And we've got, they give each other buffer space. So one student goes, and when they hit a certain spot, they raise a hand, and the next student goes all the way, one after the other. And they remain silent, and they walk for about 5 full minutes.
Wow, yeah.
And it may be the only time of their day that they have and then at the end we ask them, how'd that make you feel? And we write it down and we sort of describe, you can find this anywhere. And they use the words like soothing, peaceful, calm, quiet, silent. And then how does it make you feel to be silent and calm and peaceful? And he said, I never get this at home. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I can hear myself, or I can listen to nature. And then our instructors often point them to, well, if you don't have a backyard like this, you don't live in the woods, where can you find this? And they start to think about ways to incorporate nature outside of this kind of sort of facilitated experience. So that's another thing that I love that we provide, is this sense of solace and a sense of comfort in nature, so that hopefully that can stay with them in their life if they hit adversity, that they can have, that acknowledge that they're surrounded by places to go to be peaceful and calm.
I think one of the best things the program does is the children are doing this, they're walking.
Yes.
And walking
They're getting physically
is
active,
something. I'm 70. I did walk to school. It was not uphill both ways, but I did.
bet. Mm-hmm.
But
in the snow?
Yes, in the summer, because
right.
we couldn't afford good weather. No, but just the connectivity. I had as a kid. I could walk to the school. I could walk to the woods that were undeveloped. I could walk to my buddies' houses, the neighborhoods. You didn't get in a pod and get driven somewhere. I mean, we had that, but just that to be able to walk somewhere to me is it gives you a lot of power.
And he still walks down his neighborhood.
Well, when you can't walk, I had hip replacement.
You weren't supposed to say that, Gary.
Almost a year ago, but when I couldn't walk, and then I could again, what a value to be able to walk
and to appreciate it.
And to appreciate it, and it's something we need to keep doing, or
and for some of our students to start doing.
Yes,
right.
So, Perry, did you have a background? Did you go to summer camp as a kid?
I did. I went to summer camp out in Colorado.
Which one?
Chile camp.
I know that.
Oh,
camp.
yeah, that's been going on.
Chile, Colorado camps.
Chile, Colorado camps. I can't tell you, I would do recruitment for them. I just believe in that world so strongly. It really shaped who I am today. I mean, not only is it extremely outdoor active, we did backpacking, hiking. There's something for everybody. You don't have to be, physically fit when you get there, but you feel inspired to get outside, and you have the whole Rocky Mountain National Park as your playground. And so in my world, the national park system, state park system, these public lands have really shaped my outdoor experience, and it's a vital part of communities. And but at camp, not only was it active, but it was based on a code of living. That's a community agreement, and that's something that Chile does really well. Here I am. This is not a paid advertisement.
No, well, we both worked at a summer camp. So.
This sounds very similar to Camp Mundaman.
It's giving you values as a community that you agree at the very beginning of your temporary community together to live by. It's like a covenant in a way, and and then you care about people, and you want to. It built my character. It really did. Not that my parents did too, of course.
So how long have you been with Muddy Sneakers?
About 2 years.
So was the summer camp your idea? Summer day camp?
No, that was camp had been running before I got there, but it has changed and grown, and it's thriving now.
And they're 1 week sessions?
1 week sessions, day camp again, and for different age groups. And if you're in the Asheville community, we do have a shuttle that goes from Asheville and brings you down to this area. But we really want to get more local kids in this really. This place is such a bountiful area in terms of nature and what
it is incredible. If you don't live in Western North Carolina, people would be jealous, but I am sure people, wherever they're hearing this, they can find some natural lands nearby.
I grew up in New Jersey, and it's called the Garden State.
I've heard that from a friend of mine, L.J. Meyers. I have to say that. He used to always point that out.
It's the Garden State, and it has beautiful gardens and farms. You don't see it when you drive through on 95, but we had to seek out some of our green spaces as children, and nature is everywhere. Muddy Sneakers also offers for schools a maximum of 2, but of the 6, you can have 2 schoolyard expeditions.
Okay, so.
And so that also offers like a backyard awareness of science and of nature, so you don't have to go into a very wild space.
Right.
If you want to find that sense of curiosity and potential for learning, but also just being alone in nature or finding a quiet place to think, which I think is also countercultural these days in some ways. But just finding a place to be, it can be a patch of grass. One child said yesterday, I think I'd just like to lie in the shade in the grass. And I thought, good for you. Go do that. Go find that in your life.
So the program is, you say, could be 6 sessions.
Yes.
So it would go through the seasons.
Yes.
So in the winter, they still go out.
They go out. We do have a sort of hiatus from sort of mid-December when the schools are out for holidays anyway, through around the end of January. We found it's also regional. It's not necessarily that long in the Piedmont where it warms up a little bit faster, but up here. And it gets very cold up here.
Unpredictable weather.
Unpredictable. We found a lot of cancellations end up happening, and we have to reschedule. But we work with children from all kinds of households. In an elementary school, there are a lot more, diversity of income levels and whatnot than you may have in high school when some students may split off and go private. It's pretty much, like I said, a microcosm of a community in elementary school, and some of our students just don't have the right gear to be outside in the cold.
Right.
So respecting that, we also, we provide some layers. Yesterday, again, our topic was energy. So we're talking insulation. So when our instructor said, "Who needs more insulation?" and we have some little gloves and fleeces and things to give them to sort of some vests, because honestly, there were children in shorts yesterday, and it was 39 degrees when they got there.
Where was that? Not to school, but where were you?
That was in Guyon Farms in DuPont.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a beautiful space to go. There's just so many opportunities for outdoor classrooms out there.
So, do you have something else?
Well,
Gary?
I wanted to give a plug. I know you have a film festival coming up, and I'm not sure when our episode's going to
This one's probably November 11th, but I don't know.
That's perfect timing for us. So
we'll try it, and on November 11th it is.
That's perfect timing. Yes, on November 23rd at the Orange Peel in Asheville, Muddy Sneakers is hosting a night of film and fun. It's the Mountain Film on Tour series.
Great series, yeah.
It's an incredible series of sort of, adventure, all outdoor oriented, but some, human interest stories as well. And Muddy Sneakers gets to curate our own playlist. A lot of other people who host Mountain Film sort of ascribe to a playlist, but we have a great relationship with them, and they know that, as a nonprofit too, that we're trying to appeal to a certain audience. This is a big fundraiser for us. So please, we encourage you. Tickets are on sale right now. You can either go to our website. We've got a pop-up that'll hit you when you go to muddysneakers.org, or you can find it on Facebook. We've got an event, or you can go straight to the Orange Peel website.
That's good to know. And I guess, I don't know whether we have any listeners with money or not. You think, Gary?
I don't know. They haven't sent it to us.
No,
but
that is
we
true.
would prefer.
We did get a $5 donation.
We did. We would prefer they just send it right to Muddy Sneakers.
So you are a 501c or whatever, so people can make donations.
Yeah. We are, yes.
Well, we need to wrap this up.
I could keep talking to you. This is fun.
Well, this is fun.
You are a wonderful person to talk to.
Well,
I mean,
thank
you can tell you live what you love, and
I do.
You do, and it shows. And if
it does. She's
I
very
could hold my
enthusiastic.
microphone up, just you could see how enthusiastic.
We're going to take a picture before we leave, put it on the website. So, but before we close out, a couple of things we do. Number one, I don't know if you know we have a university. Have you heard about that?
I have, yes.
Well, you're in luck. Right, Gary?
Oh, boy.
Because we keep looking for new instructors, and we need a new head of our brand new outdoor education program.
Yes, we do.
That goes along well with the Bladder Bowel Control Training Institute, does it not?
Yeah, it does.
Saw that episode.
Well, I mean,
that's a good episode.
It's an important part of being outside.
And being alive, right?
That's true. So, Gary, as I'm running to soundboard here,
on behalf
is going to make our official.
On behalf.
Go ahead, Gary.
The Gary and Mark Podcasting University, we award to Perry Hodgkins Jones an honorary BS with extra honors.
You don't have to read the rest of it.
No, we don't.
We just want you to know you can spread your BS like everybody else.
Yeah, you can. This is, but when it comes to the Muddy Sneakers, we'll just say there's no BS there.
That is true. It's all true. But we're not done yet.
Okay.
Because
we're not done.
We also have a resort.
Yes, the Rabbit Island Resort.
And you get lifetime membership.
Yes, you do.
And this is a decal for your car or Muddy Sneakers office or whatever.
Or your kid's stroller.
That's right.
I'm honored.
Yeah.
Well, everybody says that, and we're glad to hear that. We now have almost more honorary graduates than real ones, I guess, that earn degrees. But,
well, we just are growing our faculty.
It's gotten huge.
It's huge.
But they're all good and
they're all great
well
people.
Paid, right?
They're all great people.
So before we sign off, of course, we want to thank Big Wiz Pocket Buddy.
We want to thank Big Wiz, our sponsors, Big Wiz Pocket Buddy, Rabbit Island Resort.
And we can't read the rest of the stuff. We like us, share us. That's right. Go to our website, www.garyandmark.com.
Yeah.
And we're happy to announce that we are now part of the iHeartRadio
How about that?
network, whatever that means.
Congratulations.
And, of course, we have fun and do a lot of silly stuff, but this Muddy Sneakers is the real deal, folks.
It is.
We did not make this up, but we're lucky to even be able to spend time. If we spread the word to a few people, That's going to be great.
Yeah, so don't forget www.muddysneakers.org.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for being here, and we'll see our listeners in the next episode.
Yeah, we will. Quit tapping. I may have to.